How's it going, everybody? This is Novakast back with another video. And I don't want to do this one. I really don't want to do this one. Which, by the way, Into the Spider-Verse joked about how we don't talk about this one. And clearly, yeah, a lot of people do not like to talk about this one. And let's be fair here. Oh my gosh. They know why. But we're going to talk about it, especially with the director extended cut. So that way we could talk about some of the changes that they made. Does it fix the movie? We'll find out. So, without further delay, this is us talking about Spider-Man 3. Oh boy. I guess to start off with the story, I mean, obviously, for those who don't know the movie, and I guess, so you have context, go check it out at your own risk, because I know again, there's been controversy with this one. The basic premise is Spider-Man, or Peter Parker, is living his life. He is in a relationship with Mary Jane, and a meteor crashes to Earth, and it was housing the symbiote. Around the same time, we have conflict with James Franco's character, or Harry Osborn, now becoming New Goblin, which that is such a weird name, New Goblin. But we have conflict with that, as well as Flint Marko, who is played by Thomas Hayden Church, who is playing the Sandman, who is uncovered, or at least from the police, by the way. This is retconned for what happened to Uncle Ben in the first film, that apparently it wasn't the bleach blonde tipped haired dude from the first film that killed Uncle Ben. It was Flint Marko. So now we have Peter trying to get revenge on Flint Marko for the death of his uncle. The symbiote pretty much becoming a part of Spider-Man's suit to be, black-suited Spider-Man. And at the same time, we also get, Venom. I fucking hate this film. There's a lot to unpack. First off, I'm not gonna lie, where I thought Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Peter Parker, was a little bit likable and understanding, no offense, I mean, right off the get-go, especially when it comes down to, because at this point now, Spider-Man is loved by the entirety of the city, Peter's kind of a douche. I'm not gonna lie. I did not like him. He's so, self-centered in this. And then, I think, if anything, the character I felt bad for, strangely enough, again, because I've talked shit about this particular character for the past couple of movies, was Mary Jane, or Kristen Dunst's Mary Jane. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I feel sorry for her. Especially with some of the things that she has to go through. For instance, with apparently, where she's, I guess, after, several bad reviews, she's basically kicked out of this play, or kind of cast down as an actress, which really sucks. James Franco, or New Goblin, Harry Osborn, he goes through, kind of the roller coaster of emotions with this. Again, he's one note, but at the same time, they did something really, I will say they did something interesting with his character, where, though, to an extent, surprise, it doesn't last very long, we do have a fight between New Goblin and Spider-Man, and in between the fight, Harry, bonks his head. I'm using the word bonk, because that basically, the way it happens is kind of hilarious. It's almost like a Looney Tunes movie, if you ask me. But he bonks his head, has amnesia, doesn't remember what happened for I guess an extensive amount of memory. By the way, he doesn't remember his hatred for Peter / Spider-Man. I think if anything, the last thing he probably remembers is the fact that his father died. But well, whatever. And again, surprise, surprise. After some situation, he regains all of his memory and they have a huge fight. So oh boy, this again, it's not my favorite. See, characters to an extent. Again, Peter Parker's a douche. I feel sorry for MJ, even though she doesn't do much. Actually, if I take that back, she does one thing. She throws a cinder block at freaking Venom near the end of the movie. That's about it. So, yay, I guess. Yay for MJ. James Franco, one note, at least for the time that, he's, himself, where we get to see him briefly. Actually, now that I think about it, especially with the whole amnesia crap, we don't see much of him. Maybe like for a couple of scenes, and then after that, he's just gone. Flint Marko, or Sandman, I had an issue with this. Because, again, it's retcon that Sandman was the one that killed him. And they do that, and okay, I'm just gonna say it. And in case people didn't get it already, there's gonna be spoilers in this. I felt Flint Marko's, or Sandman's, influence in this story was kind of forced. So I know I haven't read the comics, but I did a little bit of research, and Sandman is not a nice guy. And what they try to go with his character was try to force this whole, oh, he was a loving father. He's doing what he can to for the health of his daughter, because his daughter is apparently dying. We don't really get an idea of what she's dying from, possibly cancer. I don't know. With the original version, there's only one scene of her, which I didn't feel invested in. I'm sorry, but we get the idea. We get his motivation, and then him, as well as again the retconned death of Uncle Ben, kind of try to force this whole forgiveness theme, which sure enough, yeah, I honestly I didn't feel invested with that. If anything, it kind of reminded me of the whole mother is God in the eyes of the child line from Silent Hill. It just seemed very, very, very forced. And I didn't care. Even with I will say that there is with the edited version or edited edition of the film, we do have another scene with the daughter, but again, it's so little interaction, and just the way this goes about, it felt forced. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't feel invested. We also get Gwen Stacy and Venom. So I need to say this. Eddie Brock is played by Topher Grace from That 70s Show. And God, I hated him. I mean, yeah, Eddie is a despicable character, but I'm talking about That 70s Show. I was never a fan of that show. I know some people are like, you didn't like That 70s Show? Well, guess what? It's my opinion. I fucking hated the show. It did not motivate me to watch it. It was just really, really freaking bland. Okay? It really was. And again, I mean, to some extent, I get it. Eddie Brock is a dick. He's a terrible person. But I kind of wish they would have gotten somebody better. I really do. Because, to be fair, Topher Grace, he got the whole, oh, I'm the bad guy. But once he puts on the suit, I'm just like, I didn't like it one bit. I feel like they could have done something better than Topher Grace. But yeah, that's what we got. And though playing devil's advocate, and this is nothing to do with Topher Grace, but the design for Venom is nice. I'll give it that. The CG, I mean, the CG holds up way. I mean, quickly talking about the CG, especially for the fights and a lot of the stuff that goes on, especially for 2007, holds up really a lot better than that of the first two movies. So it was a lot better, and I love what they did with Venom. Though I kind of wish he was a little bit bulkier, kind of closer to the original design, but they're not going to do that. So the way that they had his mouth open up, or at least, you know, we're able to design the mouth and the way the face looks was really nice. Gwen Stacy, who was played by Bryce Dallas Howard, I have to give the same criticism as MJ. In fact, if anything worse, I felt like she was a really, really pointless character. If anything, more to just try to create forced tension between MJ and Peter. At least, again, that's the way I see it. I mean, literally, in the scene before Spider-Man or Peter Parker takes off the suit, or the black suit, he literally uses Gwen Stacy to piss off or cause tension or even greater tension with MJ. That was like the point of her character, and it was so stupid. Again, it's one of those things, because like in the comics, clearly Gwen Stacy and Mary Jane do way more than they do. But at the same, it's just especially since like we're being introduced to this character way late in the game, and again, there's, or at least, you know, as a lot of people already know, there hasn't been another movie. So, yeah, I kind of felt like her whole thing was extremely freaking pointless. J.K. Simmons playing J. Jonah Jameson. We don't get a lot of him, but I will say there was a couple scenes that I really enjoyed. For instance, which I think I've noticed, it might just be me, but I noticed, like, as time progresses through each movie, he has more and more medications. Like, the first scene we see him in this film, he has like a ton of pill bottles and stuff. I'm assuming stuff to help him relax. And there's the great bit with the secretary where she's, you know, buzzing him in, and it's like really loud. It shakes him in the desk, and she's telling him to take his pills, and he screws up. And he's trying very hard to like keep his blood sugar down, or keep his anger down, which I thought was really great. So yeah, that was fun. James Cromwell playing Captain Stacy. Oh my gosh, it is so. In a sense, this time around, especially with the characters in the story, it's hit and miss. I know that, you know, I would probably assume anyway that a lot of the actors have tried to do what they can with what they have, but at the same time, it's like some of these characters were kind of pointless or forced. Now, let's go on to talk about, with that being said, by the way, let's go on to talk about the music. As per usual, music is really good. I especially like this time around with Venom's theme. And as I mentioned in the first, or at least the second movie, where they kind of incorporate the themes for the villains into the intro, this one was actually really nice. And this time around, which was really weird, this time around when they're showing flashbacks of the past films, they used both stills and footage from the previous films, which I thought was really odd, especially with the last one, where for Spider-Man 2, where they use paintings or comic stills, which again, that looked, I'm not gonna lie, that looked way better. It looked way better in that than it did for or at least a better concept, if anything, for the intro for number 2 than it is for 3. So, to summarize the film, because in a second we're going to be talking about the editor's edition. Basically, story, I kind of felt like some of the themes were forced. Characters, some being pointless, others useless, some very obnoxious, and some, or at least one of them, being kind of retconned and forced into a narrative when it comes to the main characters. Music, as always, has been really good. Some of the fighting or fight scenes have been really, really nice. And CGI, a lot better than 1 and 2. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the editor's edition. Because, oh boy, I'm not gonna lie, this actually, as bad as this film is, the editor's edition actually makes an attempt to make the movie better. And it's actually, it proves to be a little bit better than the original movie that we got. First off, as I kind of, even though I kind of shit on the idea before, again, we have in the first version, we have only one scene with Flint Marco's daughter, whereas for the editor's edition, there is a second scene that they put in, which I will say is to some extent, because again, even though it's forced, I will say that you do see this sort of like sincere, I guess, compassion between Flint Marco and his daughter. I truly see that. We have some scenes that are actually moved around in between, I guess, Spider-Man's or Peter Parker's, gradual use of the suit. So instead of like after the breakup, for instance, after the breakup of Mary Jane and, finding out that his best friend screwed him over and they have that huge fight, and afterwards he goes after Eddie Brock and goes on this, whole like thing where his behavior spirals out of control. We gradually see him putting on the suit and taking it off. The first instance, again, because they switch it around, after the breakup, we see him kind of having the scene where he focuses on the suit, puts it on, goes for a walk, and then proceeds to take down Eddie for what he did when it comes to his fake photo. And then we see a scene with Peter and Frank, or James Franco, Harry Osborn, where, surprise, surprise, James Franco messes with Toby, or Peter Parker. And then we have the scene where, they fight. Now, strangely enough, instead of him standing in the corner or in the doorway, like it did in the original film, we have a little bit of banter before the fight, where it starts off with Tobey Maguire, I think, laying on the same couch or chair that that William Dafoe's Norman, or Green Goblin, was laying on when Peter brought him to the Osborn home, which I thought was interesting. And again, after this, we get the descent into Peter's behavior. Now, there's one, going further, there's one in particular scene that I am really, really freaking happy that they took out. Because instead of adding to it, they took it out completely. Now, with the original scene, or original movie, we have a scene where after Harry tries to ask or Peter tries to ask Harry for help. We have a scene with the butler where the butler says, you know, lo and behold, spoilers, kind of retconned, I know who actually killed your father. It was actually, you know, your father. You know, talking about how, oh, it was the glider that killed your father. And this particular scene has been the point of contention for a lot of people, especially with, it's like, well, why didn't you say anything, you piece of shit? I've been hating on my best friend for quite a while. But surprise, actually, I don't know if this was because of the backlash, but either way, I'm giving it props. They took out that scene in completely. So instead of, you know, having an outside source motivate Harry to go help his best friend, we actually have it's like after Peter leaves, Harry, like on his own, goes to help his best friend. At least that's the way it seems like, which honestly was done really freaking well. That was, I'm gonna say this, the way that's set up is a lot better than the original version of the film. It really is. So, does that help the film, the editor's edition? It helps with a few things, especially when it comes to pacing, as well as, you know, kind of, especially with, I'm not gonna lie, especially with the scenes with the black suit, or black suited Spider-Man suit. I love that instead of it being like just an instant thing after the Harry Osborn, Peter Parker fight, it's gradual. Like, it starts off after the breakup with Mary Jane, and then going forward. I actually will say that was dealt with a lot better than it was with the original version. So, with that being said, does this help the film? To an extent, but not as much as we would want. So, I think with this, if you have not seen it, watch it once, then go about your day. Otherwise, yeah, this, out of all the films, this is probably the lowest one of the three. As I said before in the last review for Spider-Man 2, if I were to rank each film, it would be Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 1, and at the lowest bar, Spider-Man 3. So, with that being said, again, if you have the time, watch it once, go about your day afterwards, and, yeah. Believe me, this movie's trash. But, anywho. Thank you guys so much for watching. Truly appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. If you guys can, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, links are in the description down below, as well as check out our daily content and the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Rob of Novakast signing off. Have a good one, and take care. Peace.